the summer of 1943, the rolling fields of southern England became the stage for an event known to only a select few within the British War Office. It was not a battle with the Axis forces, nor a clash on foreign soil. This confrontation was far quieter, yet no less decisive. A confrontation of engineering philosophies, a test of endurance and reliability that would silently shape the future of armored warfare. This was Exercise Dracula, the secret British tank trial that would reveal how the American M4 Sherman, often dismissed as unremarkable, could outperform Britain's own pride, the Cromwell cruiser tank. At Bovington Camp, two machines epitomizing the pinnacle of Allied armored innovation were prepared for a grueling 2,000-mile endurance trial across Britain. On one side, the British Cromwell, sleek, fast and elegant, powered by the legendary Rolls-Royce Meteor engine, capable of reaching 40 miles per hour. British engineers, military officials and designers alike had pinned their pride on this creation, certain that their cutting-edge engineering would dominate the field. Opposite it stood the American Sherman. Its armor, while sufficient, was modest. Its design, robust but unpretentious, betrayed no hint of the dominance it was about to display. Yet, as the trial commenced, the differences between the two philosophies would become painfully evident. The Cromwell, initially a marvel of British engineering, soon revealed its flaws. The first few hundred miles were revealing. Transmissions overheated under relentless stress. Suspension systems buckled against uneven terrain. Tracks fractured in the mud. Each breakdown was meticulously logged by the observing engineers, who faced the bitter realization that their creation, so long celebrated as superior, was faltering. The Sherman, in stark contrast, plodded forward with predictable reliability. Its simple utilitarian design required minimal maintenance. According to confidential reports, the Sherman demanded only 0.03 hours of maintenance per mile, while the Cromwell required more than double that, 0.07 hours per mile. In a campaign where machinery could mean the difference between life and death, these numbers were monumental. The findings were shocking. British engineers, accustomed to precision, elegance, and the expectation of mechanical perfection, were confronted by an uncomfortable truth. Their most advanced tank had been outperformed not by German Tiger or Panther tanks, but by a foreign machine whose design prioritized simplicity and reliability.
Major General Richardson's report detailed every mechanical failure, every hour lost to repairs, every instance where the Cromwell succumbed to the unforgiving demands of terrain and endurance. The conclusion was unavoidable. A machine that works consistently under stress can outperform a theoretically superior one that fails in practice. This revelation would have profound consequences for British armoured strategy. Despite national pride and a desire to field domestically engineered forces, the British Army continued to deploy American Shermans on the front lines in Europe. The Cromwell, relegated to secondary roles, became a cautionary tale of technological hubris. Exercise Dracula exemplified a critical lesson of modern warfare. Industrial philosophy can dictate battlefield success as much as tactics and strategy. While British engineers pursued technical sophistication, American designers emphasized mass production, maintainability, and practical efficiency. It was this approach that enabled the Sherman to become the backbone of Allied armored divisions.
But the story does not end with statistics. The Cromwell's failures were emblematic of a deeper cultural and strategic clash. Britain's industrial culture prized innovation, elegance, and performance. America's industrial model favored output, dependability, and the ability to field large numbers of functional equipment under combat conditions. Exercise Dracula laid bare the consequences of these contrasting philosophies. The Cromwell suffered repeated setbacks. Engines overheated, track links broke, and complex systems required constant attention. In the heat of the trial, engineers watched their creation falter, while the Sherman, simple yet robust, continued its relentless march across Britain. This was more than mechanical failure. It was a stark lesson in humility, strategy, and industrial pragmatism. By the conclusion of the trial, the data spoke for itself. Sherman tanks proved their reliability, efficiency, and suitability for sustained combat operations. The Cromwell, while technically superior on paper, could not compete under the practical demands of war. The lesson was clear. Reliability and maintainability outweigh theoretical performance when facing the realities of armored warfare. The Sherman's engineering simplicity was its secret weapon. Its robust drivetrain, straightforward suspension, and ease of repair allowed crews to keep the tank operational with minimal downtime. In contrast, the Cromwell, despite its advanced Meteor engine and high-speed suspension, required constant intervention. Consider this. A typical Cromwell breakdown could take several hours to repair, often requiring specialized tools and engineers. A Sherman, in comparison, could be back in action within minutes. In a war where time and mobility are paramount, this efficiency proved decisive. Beyond endurance, the exercise revealed operational vulnerabilities. The Cromwell's advanced systems, while brilliant on paper, were prone to overheating and mechanical stress under sustained movement. Rolls-Royce engineers had created a marvel, but one unsuited to the relentless rhythm of war. The Sherman, built on a philosophy of practical resilience, withstood these trials with minimal intervention. It was a machine designed not to impress on parade, but to survive and continue functioning under combat conditions, a principle that would ultimately define Allied armored operations. Exercise Dracula did not merely inform tank deployment, it reshaped military procurement. British armored divisions learned that national pride must sometimes yield to practical necessity. American industrial might, combined with efficient engineering, became a cornerstone of Allied success. The trial was not just a test of machines. It was a test of human resolve. British engineers faced the crushing reality of repeated failures, contending with pride, frustration, and the weight of national expectations. Soldiers operating the tanks had to adapt to unpredictable breakdowns, demonstrating ingenuity in field repairs. Observers from the War Office meticulously recorded each event, noting both the mechanical outcomes and the human response. The lessons of Exercise Dracula were as much about leadership, decision-making, and adaptability as they were about engineering. This human-machine interaction highlighted a crucial insight. A machine that is simple and reliable amplifies human capability, whereas one that is complex and failure-prone demands constant human intervention, reducing effectiveness and morale. The implications of Exercise Dracula extended far beyond the English countryside. By the time Allied forces landed in Normandy in 1944, Sherman tanks formed the backbone of armored divisions,
their reliability allowing continuous operations even under fire. Cromwell's, despite their sophistication, were relegated to support roles, their limitations exposed under battlefield conditions. The trial demonstrated a central principle of industrial warfare. In mass conflict, consistent, maintainable equipment often outweighs cutting-edge performance. Nations that grasped this principle, namely the United States and the Allied forces, leveraged it to gain strategic advantage.
Major General Richardson's confidential report remained classified for decades, yet its influence shaped the battlefield. Procurement decisions, deployment strategies, and armored doctrine were all informed by the stark lessons learned at Bovington Camp. In essence, the quiet events of Exercise Dracula dictated the course of European armored operations, long before tanks rolled across Normandy. Exercise Dracula serves as a study in contrasts: speed versus reliability, innovation versus pragmatism, national pride versus practical necessity. The British approach, steeped in engineering brilliance, collided with American industrial efficiency. The outcome? A decisive victory for simplicity, maintainability, and robust design. Historians now recognize that the Sherman's superiority was not a matter of firepower alone. It was a triumph of engineering philosophy, machines designed to function under sustained, relentless conditions, in the hands of crews who could repair and maintain them swiftly. In the end, Exercise Dracula reminds us that wars are not won solely on the battlefield. They are won in factories, in workshops, and in the minds of engineers who understand that durable, reliable machinery can shape history as much as tactics and bravery. The story of Exercise Dracula is not widely known, yet it remains one of the most revealing moments of World War II armored history. It exposed the limitations of even the most advanced engineering when confronted with practical demands, and it elevated the Sherman tank to a status far beyond its unassuming appearance. For modern viewers, the exercise provides the story of is not widely known, yet it remains one of the most revealing moments of World War II armored history. It exposed the limitations of even the most advanced engineering when confronted with practical demands, and it elevated the Sherman tank to a status far beyond its unassuming appearance. By the end of the trial, the British military had absorbed a lesson that would echo throughout their armored divisions. Functionality, reliability, and maintainability could not be sacrificed for prestige or innovation. The Cromwell, despite its engineering brilliance, could not compete with the practical resilience of the Sherman under real-world conditions. The impact of this single trial rippled through Allied planning. Every subsequent armored deployment, every procurement decision, and every frontline strategy was influenced by the knowledge gained at Bovington Camp in August 1943. It was a quiet revolution, a shift from theoretical performance to practical dominance, a recognition that war favors those who can sustain operations, not just those who can create spectacular machines. For historians, engineers, and tank enthusiasts alike, Exercise Dracula remains a testament to the enduring principles of warfare. It demonstrates that industrial philosophy, logistical efficiency, and the reliability of equipment are as decisive as courage, strategy, and firepower. The lessons of Exercise Dracula resonate even today. In any conflict, the machines that endure, the designs that withstand stress, and the systems that allow humans to act effectively are those that ultimately determine success. Innovation without practicality, elegance without reliability. These are luxuries that war cannot afford. This is the story of a secret trial that changed the course of armored warfare,
a story of humiliated engineers, pragmatic victory, and the quiet triumph of the Sherman tank. It reminds us that behind every great military victory lies an often unseen yet decisive struggle of design, endurance, and ingenuity.